Hello everyone and welcome back to Red's channel. In the past of this brand, there are several world titles, 2 in the constructors category and 1 with the rider Mario Lega. The Morbidelli brand, in the 70s, was an undisputed protagonist in competitions and today returns to the market with a rapidly expanding range. But the star of Red's next test is the Morbidelli T1002VX. Let's get to know it. The past, when seasoned with successes and world titles in competitions, has a decidedly richer flavor. But today, the real challenge is fought in a market that is increasingly rich in offerings, technological and challenging, especially for a young brand that must find its place and meet ever higher expectations. The best way is always the same. Get on the saddle and discover all its details. At the command center of the Morbidelli T1002VX, what do we find? Let's turn it on first. With the display front and center, I'll show you even before we start moving. Regarding the controls, the adjustments for the windscreen or windshield are very simple and quick. The instrumentation is very clear with a white background. It's very easy to see, even for me, as I am starting to become a bit far-sighted and have no difficulty reading all the information on the right side. Light adjustment, ignition. And from this button here, you can control the management of the mappings, which involves first selecting on the left, then you move with the part related to the cruise control, you can switch between the mappings and then confirm by pressing downwards. At this point I make an important note. The change of mappings can only and exclusively be done when the motorcycle is stationary. On the left side of the electric block, heated grips if you heat them. Driving information, tire pressure. This is the average consumption recorded after about 200 kilometers of driving, liters per 100 kilometers. Cruise control management, very intuitive. I'll let you hear how the engine runs. Start by giving you the first indication. The 80 V-twin engine is different from the direct competition, which chooses for convenience the classic parallel twin facing forward. See? CF Moto 800 MT or QJS RT 800, all with power similar to Morbidelli, which stands at 88 HP and 80 Nm of torque. We do not include the Suzuki V-Strom 1050Di in this small overview because it has more power, but above all it costs 5,000 euros more. It is the first distinguishing element, the AV twin-cylinder engine that also equips the family custom and obviously stands out from the direct competitors. I think it's appropriate to start with the purchase price once again at 990 euros iPad and highlight what it includes. Sad about the bags, central stand, sidebars to protect the tank fairings, cradle, aluminum engine guards, seat, driver and multi-level heated grips, handlebar control, backlit and full LED headlights. I start with the riding position, the first element for those who choose a motorcycle in this category for touring. I like the handlebar, it's just the right width. I like it for how it allows you to position your arms while riding and for the distance to the seat, which is 820 meters. This means you can almost perfectly touch the ground with both feet. Especially useful during low-speed maneuvers, also because let's remember that this motorcycle weighs 265 kilos without the bags. But when it's fully loaded, it becomes a bit more complicated to handle. Still talking about the riding position, I find the foot pegs are slightly forward. I prefer them a bit further back. In fact, during the ride I took today on more than one occasion, I found myself slightly moving my feet back. And especially, the right foot touches the heel guard near the exhaust, which is attached to the frame with 2 nuts. A bit protruding. If they were a bit more tapered to the surface of the heel guard, they would certainly make the area a bit more comfortable. Still on the topic of ergonomics, I note that the handlebar levers are fully adjustable. Both the clutch and the front brake, obviously the front brake, but the hydraulic clutch is very easy to handle, though a bit large. The grips, that is the section of the grip, is presumably related to the fact that they are heated grips. So, inevitably to insert the heating elements, in some way they had to adjust the grip. The space for the driver is properly sized and the seat foam is convincing both in terms of comfort and support over long distances. The passenger has also been given great consideration. The height difference between the two seating levels is not large. Therefore, the person following is partially protected by the driver. The handles are properly sized to always provide a secure grip, and the seat for the passenger is also well supported and comfortable. Engine topic, as I said at the beginning, it is the only twin-cylinder AV of the large family of Chinese brands that have entered the European market. 88 HP, 89 Nm of torque, 250 RPM of rotational speed. How does this engine perform? 4 mappings available: 1 sport, 1 road, 1 rain, and 1 off-road, with 4 different personalities and different electronic setups. For example, the sport, which is the most aggressive even in the initial throttle opening, showcases a slightly more brilliant. What does that mean? You take control of the throttle and you feel a bit of on-off. You hear much more intake noise to make you understand that you're driving. Aggressively, however, in return, it removes the default traction control, so it's a very sporty choice. The road mapping is the one that, at this moment, in my opinion, it also better represents the concept of the Morbidelli because, rightly, it has a very smooth power delivery and torque. Perhaps even too smooth. In fact, if I had to think of a 2.0 evolution of the electronics of this bike here, I would take away a bit of liveliness from the sport mapping and give a little more to the road mapping. Why? Because at the bottom it's smooth, it's round, but you have to wait at least until 4,500 RPM to feel it. The engine finally starts to stretch out. Then the throttle management in that range is very good. In my opinion, the gearing is also spot on, but you have to wait to enter that range, where the maximum torque value allows you to ride a bit more smoothly, without using the gearbox too much. Regarding the gearbox, the clutch is soft, I liked it. You can really manage it with 2 fingers when starting, even uphill. No problem. The gearbox? It is not equipped with a quick shifter, nor is it available as an accessory. I hope that in a future product evolution it will be included as support because, well, it helps. While driving, it makes everything more comfortable because the gearbox has somewhat long engagements and sometimes you can really feel the step, especially when downshifting. You need to be precise in managing the gears. Returning to the topic of mappings, the rain mapping is certainly the one that, given the road conditions we encountered this morning as it rained last night and the asphalt was still very wet, proves to be perfectly suited. The throttle opening is very smooth. It's extremely saturated. The engine, especially in the initial part of the power delivery, is designed to avoid any difficulties in any situation. So smooth, 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 but also all the way to the top. The engine is very saturated with throttle valves opening very, very slowly in short to ensure comfort and safety. Finally, the off-road mapping, which we unfortunately didn't have the chance to test today due to last night's weather conditions, because it made the path that Morbidelli's team had planned really too slippery, which I point out deactivates the ABS both front and rear. So, pay attention when riding off-road. Clearly, the 1000V twin platform shared with the custom C1200V sister model brings with it some usage limitations. So let's not expect exceptional performance, but rather a companion that develops power and torque values in line with the competition. It is a stable, neutral, generous motorcycle, not very fast in changing directions, but very friendly, perhaps also aided by the rally. Scorpion, rally, stored, as original equipment, which makes every action, even in changing directions, very smooth and rounded. It is a motorcycle that still has weight to manage, and this is especially significant in low-speed maneuvers or U-turns. A U-turn, as we did today, where the turning radius is not exactly very small, and therefore they need to be done with caution. That said, having a low seat available at 8 on 20 meter, as I mentioned before, certainly all basic maneuvers can be done well. As for the riding dynamics, as I was saying, it's not the quickest motorcycle, but it easily accommodates the rider's requests, especially by managing throttle openings and closings to navigate curves. Don't expect a hyper-reactive engine that allows you to make great very fast overtakes or rather radical corrections even while riding. I noticed some vibrations both on the handlebars and the foot pegs, not at all bothersome, which is expected given it's a constant twin-cylinder engine. While traveling, I also note the rotational speed of 3500 RPM at 90 km/h. If we have the opportunity to do a highway stretch, I will also indicate what can be achieved in terms of RPM at 130 km/h. I like the windshield adjustment, simple, to very, very quick knobs that allow you to raise and lower it. In a few seconds, even while moving, the bike offers decent wind protection. The helmet is quite protected, I tell you, at 90 km/h. The shoulders are a bit less protected and the sides are a bit less protected. I appreciate the choice to equip the TX with partially adjustable Kayaba suspensions because they offer the possibility to revise the initial setup provided by Morbidelli. Testing the bike alone or with a passenger on the luggage racks and the trio of aluminum cases changes things radically. Surely the technicians who followed the development in deciding the final adjustments must have thought specifically about traveling as a couple, which largely justifies the feeling of having a bike that is too stiff, especially at the rear. We have reached the end of this first taste of the Morbidelli T1002VX, the latest crossover from the Italian-Chinese company, which, in my opinion, deserves a mention in the introduction title. The first impression is good because what I have described so far, well, it has proven in practice that it does everything quite well. I haven't talked about the braking system. Hotaku brakes, 320mm discs, radial caliper, it can be improved in terms of feel. On the lever, it's a bit spongy. The braking is quite respectable, but to get a consistent response, you need to squeeze the lever a bit more. The shopping list is clear. With 9,990 euros, you get Kayaba suspension, Pirelli tires, and Bosch electronics. In short, very, very useful features for those who want to do touring. Let's remember that included in the price are also the 3 bags, the kit of 3 aluminum bags. Where to improve, as I mentioned in the story we've been telling so far, more than anything, accessories in a 2.0 phase. That would be useful in my opinion, starting with the remote adjustment of the monoshock absorber with a progressive linkage. However, a quick shifter would be equally useful. In short, these are the few things. And of course, maybe refining the electronics a bit in terms of the engine's character, especially transport and standard, which are a bit too far apart from each other, with sport being a bit too aggressive and standard a bit too mild. That said, if you like the video, write to us below, write to me, and tell us what you think of this Morbidelli. How do you see it within an increasingly diverse market? Is it an interesting proposal? In short, ready to answer all your questions. Bye, and see you soon.